Okay, welcome everyone to another Weekend No Show. This time I'm here with the insidious LAT. What's up, man?
Happening, fellas.
I'm also here with my boy CL Smooth. How's it going?
What's good, fellas?
Okay, today we're going to be talking about that Rihanna performance at the Super Bowl. And I knew we talked a little bit last week before it even happened. We knew we were going to be talking about this. So I want to discuss it, and I want to lead in with the quote from Donald Trump. I think it's from his Truth Social network. It's not from Twitter, and it says, "Epic fail. Rihanna gave, without question, the single worst halftime show in Super Bowl history. This after insulting far more than half of our nation, which is already in serious decline with her foul and insulting language. Also, so much for her stylist," and that's in quotes. So, Donald J. Trump, not a fan. And I'm just going to kick it over to you. LAT, I mean, what do you have to say about all this?
All right, so first of all, let me preface everything by saying my apologies for the sound quality. I am actually making a little bit of money today, y'all. So I'm outside, and so occasionally you hear a skateboard go by or some drunk. It's Mardi Gras here in the Tower District. So
Sure.
Ahead of time for that. But let me just say,
Bill, just tell the people the truth, man. You out there drinking, we know.
I mean, listen, if somebody offers their bartender a shot, it's insulting to not accept it.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna get to the bottom of the truth here, man.
But let me go ahead and jump in because I gotta get back behind that bar in a minute. So first of all, fuck Donald Trump. But that goes without saying, But let me just go ahead and say I knew that, because it's Rihanna, so I knew it was going to be some controversy. I don't know if there's any real controversy other than the big surprise. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say I was underwhelmed, but I enjoyed it immensely. So let me go ahead and start with that. I like Rihanna, I like her music, so it's always good to hear medley. I was expecting, a special guest star to pop out or something, or something. I mean, don't get me wrong, the stage was dope, but after a while it got old. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of cool that it was ultimately kind of 20-minute commercial for the clothes that she ended up selling later. Because apparently, according to Amina, all that stuff was for sale later. That was kind of like,
I didn't even know that.
Look. Yeah, it was like buy the look now. Now I was like, oh, that's dope. She got paid. She got paid, and then it was a fucking 20-minute commercial. So
there's a reason she's a billionaire.
Exactly. I was just like, word up, Rihanna, and I liked her attitude. She was like, listen. She was smirking the whole time, like she knew what she was doing. So I thought it was cool as fuck. Like I was underwhelmed, but I thought it was cool. And now all the sort of side stuff that was happening, with her being pregnant and then her, selling the look via her fashion line and all that shit, and her putting on the makeup. I guess Fenty's, that's her makeup. Apparently, I don't know. That's not my life, but all that shit. I thought that shit was cool. So I'm a big fan of everything that I saw.
Okay. So then, before we kick it over, I just want to, what do you think? I mean, people seem to be upset. What is there to be done? I mean, what else do they expect her to do? I mean, cartwheels or what?
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. It's just like, especially, it was after the fact, and it's after the fact, but it's like, what you expect a fucking pregnant lady to do? I was like, she popped that coochie as hard as she could, giving her,
Yeah.
given, her situation. I was like, she
Right.
she sex it up a little bit, but I'm like, damn, she's not about to risk the health of her unborn child, for our entertainment. So, like I said, I was underwhelmed, but I was entertained. I was like, well, shit, that's more than I would have done. I might have canceled that shit.
Yeah.
So
okay. CL Smooth, what do you got to say, man?
Yeah, man. So I got quite a bit to say. I'm probably gonna offend some people, but I like to look at things as objectively as I can. So what I want to say first, not a fan of Donald Trump, but I will say that he was correct in a number of things that we should be mindful of. But I'm not going to go into all that. When I first saw the quote from
Don't
him,
don't be
I would
scared, man. Talk about it.
no, I ain't scared at all. But you know, it'll probably take a whole nother show. You know, so I don't want to sidetrack us. But I'll touch on a couple points. But when I saw his quote, I was like, damn, what the hell did Rihanna do? Like she must have done something incredibly offensive. You know what I'm saying? There's this uproar among conservatives and things like that. So um, I saw the quote, but I didn't want to dive into what all the criticism was before I saw it myself. I went back and watched the halftime show myself because I didn't see it originally. And I gotta tell you, man, I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it sounded good. It looked great. It was a good performance. It was a good show. It wasn't the greatest show ever, but you got your money's worth, so to speak. So I couldn't
Okay.
see, and I know he had made there was something to quote. He said something about her like smelling her crotch or something like that. You know, I don't know if you saw that.
I
Um,
don't think I saw that quote.
yeah, I saw that quote somewhere. I thought it was Trump, but maybe it was somewhere else, where she had made some kind of offensive kind of movement. And so I watched the show, and I'm just wait. Listen, I'm waiting because all I've seen is this one quote um, to see what this crazy thing she is that she did. And there was a brief moment, and I guess I really only noticed it because I was waiting for it. You know what I mean? The brief moment where she kind of like grabbed her crotch, almost not quite as explicit as like you know how Michael Jackson used to do back in the
Right.
day.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So something like that, and then she kind of brought it to her nose, like swiped across her nose. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, all right, slow down, conservative America. Don't lose your draws, man. All that is, see, it's a disconnect to me. It's like a cultural disconnect with white conservative Americans and Black culture, right? And that movement, I see that, and I think most people in the culture see that as, you know, I'm smelling myself, I'm feeling myself, you know, my shit don't stink, so to speak. You know, I'm all that. That's kind of that type of braggadocious artistic
Right.
expression is how I viewed it. Not as something more offensive and derogatory. Now, that being said, let me be objective. I can understand why conservatives and other folks who are not connected to the culture could be offended, like misinterpret that and could be offended by that. And I respect their right to their opinion. This is a free this used to be a free country, so that it's cool. You know what I mean? But I don't think any offense was meant. It's a kind of a cultural expression. Yeah, it's kind of on that line of, you know, is it really appropriate or not appropriate? Do you want your young kids viewing some of this or whatever? Maybe not. Um, but you know, to me, I don't find that offensive, right? Because I understand where it comes from. But what I really think, though, this stems from is when y'all remember Colin Kaepernick, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay, so when that happened with him, I believe she was the ones that came out in support of him, and Trump and others, you know, I think hold that against her to this day. And what else? I'll just say briefly about that because I think it's you know is germane to the subject is Colin Kaepernick taking a knee is just about the most respectful thing you can do to protest, right?
Yes,
Injustices,
he
um,
explained that.
right? So and he got that right after talking to a military member who said, look, you know this, you know, taking a knee is a respectful way to show that, look, I love this country, but I got something on my mind. There's issues, there's problems,
He was
and
a former member of the Seahawks as well.
got you. So, you know, and I think conservatives have brushed that to the side. Now, you may not like Colin Kaepernick, you may not like some of the things he's done before or after that. You know, I'm not getting into the history of that. But the kneel itself was not a disrespectful act. It was not a disrespectful act. Anyway, they hold that against her, and then there's a disconnect with the culture. And I think all of her, you know, her mannerisms, particularly, you know, I come from a Caribbean background, so you know the dance and some of the mannerisms there's a you know there's a sensuous element to some of that, and again there's going to be a cultural disconnect with conservatives on that. but there's no offense being meant. Here's the problem, and I'll wrap up my initial points here. Here's the problem. Conservatives believe that there is a concerted effort to destroy the country, right, by degrading the society morally. This means making it very sexually liberal, creating divisions between people by focusing on identity, like, I'm black, you're white, gay, straight, transgender, all these different divisions of society, over sexualizing children and young women, all those things. They feel like those are tools that are undermining the country. And so that is why I think that, Trump and others come out so strongly against, a pretty mild performance, I would say, from Rihanna. I mean, that's barely offensive, I think, in terms of.
Yeah, and if I can jump in, here's the thing. It doesn't matter. She could have been in there dressed up like fucking, I don't know, whoever that school mom is that helped Helen Keller. She could have been up there totally zipped up and stood still the entire time. He would have found something to talk about, because that shit is just about him trying to, trend. He had to comment.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, he's like, he don't want to give a fuck what he's thinking, but he knows if he, hashtags Rihanna Superbowl, that shit is gonna trend. So I don't even know if he watched the shit, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. See, the part of the problem is you got all these people, politicians and wannabe celebrities and influencers, who will jump into situations like this, for the very reason you said, LAT, is that they don't care about the subject matter at hand that much. It's they're trying to get in the limelight and get their, keep their buzz going. And, right. That's why issues don't get solved in this country, right? There's what did Chris Rock say? There'll never be a cure for cancer. Why? Because there's no money in a cure. The money is in the medicine. The money is in right. The treatment, right? So it's the same thing with these politicians. You really think they want to resolve racism or financial, economic inequality or poverty or any of these things? They don't want to solve it. If they solve these things, then what do we need them for, right? They lose their power. So I think all of those things, while we were just talking about a show during the Super Bowl, all those things are connected. It's a much deeper thing.
Okay. Now, what's interesting is that she could have. I mean, she really could have. We've seen what she's capable of. We've seen her videos. We've seen what she can do. And I don't care if she had that little baby bump. She could have been twerking. She could have been doing whatever. I feel like she really toned it down and right. tried to accommodate them. And that one thing I noticed of looking at it was all the people in the background. You can see the people waving those lights or candles or whatever. There was a gang of people feeling that performance.
Yeah, it was a good performance.
It was. I thought it was good, but like you said, not great. There was nothing great about it. There's nothing great about these performances, because what are they supposed to do?
Right.
Really, all you can do is stand there and maybe gyrate a little. You can sing. If you're a rock band, you're going to stand there and play your instruments. It's not exciting. She moved around and the stages moved up and down and tried to keep it interesting. That wasn't really that interesting. The dancers, it's not that interesting. The thing I liked was just hearing some of the songs I hadn't heard in a while. Yeah. And just like, yeah, I remember this one. And she's a good looking woman. It's cool with me. I watched her through the whole thing. And I just really feel like, what are you supposed to do? And they're like, oh, if we would have had a real band there, you can have Aerosmith, you can have whoever there. All they're going to do is stand there. You can have Coldplay. They're just going to stand there.
Yeah.
And that's all anyone can do, is try to make it interesting, but you can't. And then even more on top of that, I want to say that I just read these people, just histrionics of disrespecting the Super Bowl. I don't have any respect for the Super Bowl. Come on, you guys are throwing the damn ball. Whatever, you're lucky you got Rihanna. Come on, and it just amazes me how people really feel like it was disrespected. I'm like, this is just the level of histrionics over sports in this country. I mean, I'm the type of guy who, if I didn't know somebody who was like, oh, I'm gonna watch the Super Bowl, oh, gee, I wouldn't even know this was on. I
Right.
don't watch sports. That's the only way you could get me to tune into any of this. And so I think they were upset because Rihanna came at it from her attitude of, oh, I'm just going to do this thing. They feel like she didn't have the proper respect or deference for the Super Bowl. And they're used to being on top. They're used to putting these musical acts in and putting them in their place. Hey, you come second to the football. This is about football.
Right.
And you just come on and do your thing and then get out of here. And Rihanna's like, yeah, I'm going to give you guys 75% energy here, and I'll get through this. I'm going to do a professional job, but let me sell these clothes. I guess I didn't realize that, but yeah, let's sell these clothes. Thanks, Super Bowl. And then she was
Right.
out. you know,
Yeah.
so I was cool with that. I was like, yeah, Rihanna. I liked her, but now like, yeah, girl, do that shit. I love it.
I was gonna say I've listened to a couple of podcasts and a couple of people talk about it, and like the true, I don't know what they're called, the true, Rihanna fans, they're disappointed because, they wanted raunchy, old school Rihanna. I'm like, she got a kid and she got one on the way. That chick probably don't exist no more. I mean,
yeah.
you know, you're not getting, whips and chains, turn me on or whatever that song is. I don't know if you're gonna get that chick anymore. So it's, I dug since that, she's she's evolving as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as a mother, and she's like, fuck what y'all think. This is me, baby fat and all. And you know what? You know, pay me. She came out with the perfect song. Pay me what you owe me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, what? How long has it been since her last album? Like, I don't follow her like
It's
that.
been a good almost a decade, good seven
Has it?
plus.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, she's been threatening a new one, since then, which I know, much to the chagrin of her fans. Her hardcore fans. I'm like, you know what? When it comes out, I'll listen to it on YouTube. But yeah, so yeah, I like I said, I was underwhelmed, but I didn't go in there with any super high expectations. I was underwhelmed, but I enjoyed it immensely. So yeah, it was good. And I remember when Coldplay played. I remember when Aerosmith, like some of these more rock bands, that shit was boring
It's boring, yeah.
because shit don't sound like it do on the radio. It don't sound like the record. And you know what? I don't want to see. I don't want to see a 50-year-old dude out there trying to be sexy and rock out. That shit. I find that offensive actually. Sit your old ass down.
No, what was she? Was she singing or was she lip syncing?
I think with most of those kind of those
It
kind of
sounded like the
commercials.
radio versions, a lot of them,
Well, so
like
I
the
think
album
they
versions.
they do the canned vocals, as I forget, somebody told me. So they canned the vocals, but her mic was on, so she was singing on top of her pre-recorded vocals or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
So
Some of it,
yeah,
I was like, "Damn, she sounds good live," and then I was like, "Oh wait, is she actually singing
yeah,
this?"
yeah. Everyone does it. Even Prince had canned vocals.
Okay,
Sure, Mike.
okay,
Sure, Mike had. I'm sure they all. I think especially for the Super Bowl, that shit is canned vocals off top in
all right.
case something goes down.
In case another Janet Jackson nipplegate. Well, that had nothing to do
Exactly.
with that, but oh
Exactly.
man. So I mean, she really ruffled some feathers, and you know, CL Smooth, like you said, I saw these quotes, and then I was like, man, I better go watch this, man. I was ready for. I don't know what I thought I was going to see, and then I kept saying, when is the offensive part going to happen? When is it? It's got to be coming, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess not. Cool.
Well, the other thing is one of the things I kept in the back of my mind is the concept of being desensitized. So if we think back to when we were kids, the amount of violence, the kind of violence, the kind of sexual situations, stuff like that, that you might see on television or any kind of, you know, entertainment media was far less than it is today, right? It was much more difficult to get to, especially for kids, and
Yeah.
so that has become much easier. And I think this is part of the problem and the division between, you know, so-called conservatives and more liberal people in the country and the world, maybe, is you know, things that they would have thought were just ridiculously offensive, you know, 50 years ago, today are pretty mild, right? And so the kind of question I ask myself is, okay, if I had a child, you know, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever, um, at what age would I be comfortable allowing them to view things, whether it's movies or TV or just social media, YouTube, TikTok, any of that old stuff? Would I feel comfortable allowing them to see that? Because we all know that, you know, things we get exposed to and when we get exposed to them has a big influence on us, you know. And so, especially if we have young daughters, so maybe that's an interesting question for us to ask. If we had a young daughter, at what age would we feel comfortable kind of letting them loose to manage their own kind of media consumption?
So, I mean, are you saying that if you had a daughter, you would allow her to have watched this Super Bowl? Would it have been a problem if you walked in on her watching this particular Rihanna performance?
Um, no, not this performance. I'm
Okay.
not. I really didn't find it, and because again, I think I can respect other people might not feel the same way, right? And I'm not going to get all up in arms like, oh, you should let them. It's nothing wrong. I can understand why, you know, people with a different cultural mindset would feel that way. The cultural background that I have, um, you know, it wasn't offensive. It wasn't
Okay.
offensive. But there are other things on TV, right? You know, you think about, you know, TikTok videos and YouTube and, you know, these other, you know, dances that these girls are doing and things like that. And there's just a general sexualization of women and children and things like that, and teens and all that. Like, I grew up in a way, and I come from an immigrant, partially Caribbean background. So, you know, this is maybe a different view than other people have. But, you know, I grew up in a more um, conservative, restrictive household in terms of certain things, and you don't like it at the time. But I think what that benefited is that um, I think I was less influenced by those certain things, and so when I got exposed to things, I was a little bit more mature. And we're all affected. Doesn't matter if we're adults or kids. We're all affected to some degree, but I don't think it had the warping effect that I do think it has on society today. I think you can look at society today and you can see the effect that over sexualization has had on dynamics between people. So I would be far more restricted. Unfortunately, I'd probably be that dad that everyone's like, "Damn, your dad won't let you watch anything." I'd be like, "You're damn
Yeah.
right. You're damn right." Um, but that's only because that would be part of a plan to get your children ready for the world, not restrict them and hide them so that they're unprepared. You know, some parents do that, but to prepare them, have conversations with them, and selectively expose them so that they're developing in a way, but just not this just overt. Because I do agree with some of the concerns of the conservative side of the country, that people are being exposed to certain things. Now, as an adult, like, man, you know, don't try to tell me what I can watch. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's different. But I understand where the concern is coming from, and I think if you step back and look at society, we can see the changes, man, and they're not all good, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for damn
I'm gonna
sure.
go ahead. So I'm gonna go ahead and call bullshit on that. Here's the thing.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, no,
Here we
no.
go.
Here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. We parent our own children. I mean, I don't have any fucking kids. Thank God. None that I know of, at least. So we parent our own fucking kids, and it's not up to the Trumps and the conservatives of the world to tell me what my child can watch. My child, if I were cursed with a kid, my child would be hip to all that shit at 10. He or she would be like, okay, I know what I'm watching. I know this is fake. I know this isn't the way that children behave and things like that, because I would have raised my kid by 10 to the point where they know what the fuck is good and what's wrong and what's right. And so I don't need, fucking, I don't know, some senator or whomever, speaking on behalf of my kid. I got this. So I call bullshit on the whole idea that that children need to be protected. That's their parents' job. And so, and here's the thing, I consider myself an artist. You fucking with the art. Let the art be the art and be a parent. So that's what I mean when I call bullshit. It's like, let artists do what they do. And then as a parent, it's your job to decide whether or not that shit is good enough for them to watch, or if that's relevant to them or whatever. I'm not coming up with the right words right now. But
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. And I don't mean to call bullshit on what you said, but I call bullshit on the idea that, that certain artistic forms and artistic outputs should be censored or not be shown or something along those ways.
Or
no, parent your own
yeah.
kid. Yeah, parent your own kid.
Okay.
So let me just respond. What I would say is I don't believe in censorship. That's one of our problems. I don't believe in censorship. We have to have the freedom to speak, to disagree with each other, particularly artistic censorship. I put comedy in there. You can't censor that. But I do think it's appropriate to partition. And what I say is, not everything has to be on public access TV. And again, I'm not talking about Rihanna's performance. Like for me personally, that's very mild. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not talking about that performance.
Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement there. I don't believe in censorship. I think there has to be a partition. Now, whether that's age restrictions or platform, segmentation, where certain material can be shown on certain platforms. I don't know what all the answers are. I do agree with LAT that it is the parent's job. What I'm saying is two things. One, no matter how good of a parent you are, because many of these things have permeated society, it's going to be very, very difficult to parent your child well, because they're going to be hit from all different corners, right? They're in the classroom, being read story time about transgender and alternative lifestyles and encouraging sexual behavior and all these kinds of things. Now, this is nothing against people from any of those backgrounds. Again, my fundamental belief and principle is in freedom. People should live their lives and be who they want to be. But that also means, just like Bell said, don't interfere with how I raise my children. I think people are interfering with how people raise their children by exposing them to stuff that parents don't want them exposed to. And parents can't prevent them from being exposed to it because it's so pervasive in society. So while I don't feel like anything should be censored, right? Even stuff stuff I disagree with, you can't make it so pervasive where I have no hope of raising my child the way that I think they should be raised. And I think that's the point we've gotten to.
All right.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to let JG get a word in. Chomping at the bits. So here's the thing. I don't know. I know I wasn't supposed to watch HBO after dark. or Skinamax.
Going old school.
Listen, I'm old. Yeah, but that was a no-no. But guess what? Guess who got access? Guess who figured it out? Guess who figured out the parental controls? Because they were curious, and I am no worse for the wear having done it. I think, again.
Well.
Yeah. You on shaky ground there, brother.
I mean,
you on shaky ground. Your whole argument just fell apart, man.
Yeah.
Just because I
hit the buzzer on the.
Yeah. We out.
Because I enjoy. Just because I enjoy, certain things. I don't think it's a result of me having, saw some titties when I was a kid. I don't think that turned me into, the guy who enjoys things like that I am today. I think I learned that shit, just as I, matured. But I don't think I was any worse for the wear, and I was no longer curious. As I recall, I was like, "What the fuck? No, thank you." So, I'm sorry, and that's it. So JG, I don't even know the point I was making, other than I think we all turned out okay, even though we saw some things that we didn't necessarily need to see when we were younger.
So you just wanted to brag. You saw some titties against your parents' wishes. Okay, I can understand that. I can understand that. But what I wanted to say is we're running out of time here, and we're coming to the end of this show. But I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to get a word in here. Like if I had a kid, and I'd want those parental controls intact. And so then I can just be like, hey man, you see this Rihanna? You see this shit, kid? She used to pop it way better than that, but you can't see that. You only get this shit. And he'd be like, I want to see what she was. No, kid, no, you ain't seeing that. You get this tame, watered down Super Bowl shit, and I get the dope shit she used to do. So now, on that note, we're gonna get out of here. But I think the final thought, with Jerry Springer, final thought, is that Rihanna ain't do shit wrong. It was a good performance and entertaining. And I'm just not seeing. I think it's manufactured offense. I think we all kind of agree on that.
Absolutely.
Is that where we're at? CL Smooth.
Yeah, no, I agree that it was a good performance. She wasn't offensive, and everything I said was 100% accurate.
Okay. So you were right. All right. Well, one of us had to be. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here for now. Thanks a lot for watching the Weekend No Show. Hey, CL Smooth and LAT, say goodbye, please.
Peace out.
I ain't saying shit.
You're just being ornery today. You know what? We getting out of here. You guys. We'll see you next time on the next Weekend No Show.
Peace.